The attack in El Ade was the most horrific in the history of the Kenya Defence Forces. In fact, it is most likely the second worst in the military history around the world after the killing of 245 US Marine soldiers in Beirut. At some point, Kenyans on social media, obviously scared of the magnitude of the attack on the forces, started posting graphic images of soldiers who had been killed. But psychologists are warning that doing so not only hurts families involved, but instills fear among members of the public, which is what is strategy being employed by the Alshabaab.
That image maybe is an image that is badly, mutilated, or is an image of somebody you know, or is an image of a relative, then definitely that creates a lot of shock. And it is really bad. And that is why it's wrong for us as Kenyans to keep on sharing images that it's not pleasant to see anything that will at the end of the day hurt you. And I don't think it is interesting for anyone under normal circumstances to share any image that you know for sure this is going to hurt somebody else. So I don't think it's a good practice, and I will also urge Kenyans not to do that at all.
But the lack of clear information on the exact number of soldiers killed in the attack could also have ignited all manner of rumors on the social media sites.
And anything that is related, for example, now to military, to army, to war, even if it's mentioned in a very slight form, it makes them erupt psychologically, and they kind of feel very much uncomfortable. They get into a situation of desperation. What do? I don't know anything. No one is telling me anything. No one is telling me the right thing. And then at the end of the day, this really weakens their nervous system completely throughout the body. And sometimes even thinking becomes now a problem.
Dr. Othman opines that though the government has put in efforts to help families of the deceased and the injured soldiers, the society needs to supplement the gesture.
You really need to help people, to accept the situation. It has happened, okay? And therefore there might be very little for us to do to bring those who are dead back. It's impossible. We cannot bring them. So you have to establish the level of acceptability that it has happened, and therefore we have to learn to cope with it. Okay, so the coping mechanism has to be kind of built in individual families, not in a communal kind of centers or care centers where information is just being shared. Okay, again, there has to be a level of building their beliefs that this, apart from being a human activity, it also has a hand of God. Okay, so even if we want to blame everybody else, we should remember it was already destined by God. Then we have to show a lot of care, and care means looking at people, at individual, the parents, the children of the soldiers who have died, okay, the community of the soldiers that died, okay, the friends of the soldiers that died, the soldiers who are still alive. All these people requires now a lot of grief counseling, so that they are able to live with what has happened. Okay, so that care has to be given: psychological, emotional, and physical care. Again, there has to be a statement of direction. Where next now? This thing has happened. Now where next? Now there has to be a way forward. The direction has to come in, and then we have to be very, very much empathetic to the way things have happened.
Dr. Othman further rubbishes the theory propagated by Alshabaab of fighting for Islam, calling on Christian and Muslim clerics to spread a message of religious tolerance and use the same platform to oppose elements of religious extremism.
In Somalia, Alshabaab are killing Muslims. In Syria and Iraq, ISIS, they are killing Muslims. In Afghanistan, Taliban are killing Muslims. But in Kenya, Alshabaab are killing non-Muslims, particularly Christians, to create a rift between the Muslims and the Christians, because it is a process, it is a policy of divide and rule. It is one way of making the country weak, so that they will find an easy way of finding a kind of a safe haven for themselves. You get my point? So it's up to us. For example, the incident of Mandera, where the Muslims refused to identify themselves as Muslims and the rest as non-Muslims. They came out very openly and defended their Christian brothers. okay, without minding that they are also going to be killed. That is the spirit that Kenyans have come to a level to prove that they are very resilient. You get my point? And they should not agree to be divided on religious lines.
But the attack having taken Kenyans by surprise, at what point does the country bring to a close the events of Friday the 15th?
You leave it in the middle along the way, it's like you've never started it. The beauty of starting anything is to make sure you go up to the end and accomplish the mission. So what took us to Somalia should be completed before we can say now it's over. But if we leave it along the way without reaching the intended destination, then definitely we've lost our brethren, we have lost resources, we've gone through a lot of trauma because of that, and then at the end of the day we did not achieve anything, and that means we did a zero job.
John Jacob Curie for Family Matters.